up, I'm getting things standing firm like a mannequin. Whoa. They doubted me 1,000 times till I got an increase. Better understand how I'll make it please. Race king, frankly speaking, but to be frank, I'd have to change my name. This is how I'm holding up. There ain't nothing dope as that my whole life on the pop. Yeah, homie, that's the part.
The International University of Management, a Namibian university dedicated to its people's future, a hub of abundant opportunities.
We are IUM for life. We are IUM.
Good evening and welcome to Today on One. I'm Isai Sipunga. In the news tonight, Genocide Remembrance Day stuck in Parliament for 5 years. Mental illness is a serious matter, says Nodia. Windows of Fishermen and Ehika Fishing Company unified. Water safety campaign for pre-scholars. F&B and partners assist farmers in fire and drought-stricken areas. And Roundup, Business on One, Comments Corner, Sports and the weather. First up, members of the affected communities of Imperial Germany's 1904 to 1908 Ovaherero and Nama genocide have pushed members of parliament to finalize the implementation of a national genocide Remembrance Day in honor of the thousands of victims who have perished during that time.
The enactment of a day of remembering for genocide victims has been stuck in Parliament for the past 5 years, according to the chairman of the Ovaherero and Ovambanderu Genocide Foundation, who spoke at a recent event commemorating the 117th anniversary of the infamous extermination order that led to the 1904 to 1908 Ovaherero and Nama genocide.
Genocide is a crime against international law. There are conventions that call for it to be punished, and all measures must be done to make sure that it never reoccurs. Now, if we do not have that collective conscience to try and memorialize this and make it remembered and pointed out so that everyone, not only us today, but 20 years, 30 years, 50 years from now, should know that this is something that should never be done. We become guilty as a current generation if we do not push for that. You would recall that about 5 years ago, our National Assembly passed a resolution calling for an enactment of a Genocide Remembrance Day in Namibia. That has not happened to date. With this commemoration today, we are saying enough is enough. The time has come. It must be done now. Come on, Namibia, let's get this done. Let's get this one done. It was already decided. What is the hold up on it?
The ceremony took place in the Independence Memorial Museum, which is next to the old German fortification that served as a concentration camp for Ovaherero and Nama people. Hengari questioned why it took the parliament so long to enact a National Genocide Remembrance Day, given that Namibia has been independent for 31 years.
This is the very place where our ancestors, as we repatriated them, have found their resting place. In the archives, in the museum of Namibia. This is also the place where some of them could have potentially met their fate of death. as they became prisoners of war and kept in a concentration camp, left to die from hunger and disease. So it is significant that we are gathering here. We hope that today would mark the day when collectively in Namibia, at the polity and everywhere, we decide that next year we should have a genocide memorial and remembrance day enacted, which would be celebrated or commemorated right here. So that is, and as I said earlier, Namibia, it is too late in the day. 117 years ago, 31 years after independence, it can't be later than this. Come on, let's get it done. Let's have that day. Let's start to commemorate. Let's memorialize the genocide. Let's make the Germans pay for what they have done.
Members of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Constitutional and Legal Affairs were urged earlier this year by National Assembly Speaker Peter Kachivivi to prioritize and finalize matters related to the implementation of the National Genocide Remembrance Day, which was proposed by Swanu parliamentarian Usutwaye Mamberua through a motion he tabled in 2016.
With trusted quality and great value on all Clicks brand products, switch and save. Buy Clicks antibacterial dishwashing liquid, $37.99 each. Buy Clicks thick bleach, $28.99 each. And buy Clicks antibacterial cleaning products from $49.99 each. Or buy a Safeway steam iron, $284 each. Clicks, feel good, pay less.
Revisualize the vision, connected the journey, still early. Step one, step two, next step, restart at the beginning of what I'm feeling. The future we believe in, let's start dreaming. Namibia, no matter what they say, we here to stay. So find believers just like you. Hand in hand, this is what we do. More steps, yeah, we get through, let's go. Start again, you can. You connected to the world, yeah, we stand. Determined to move on hand in hand. Put the switch on, a new reform. Let's rise. Together we rise. MTC, make the connection.
Anything, he should be everything. Strength provider, the architect of every ring. Experience penny yellow, see the face of God and live.
I pray to God for my enemy. Why you ready? Why you baby? Wanna do? Insta baby, Insta baby, Insta baby. Why you lying? What your mama did, yeah. Everybody move, what your mama did, yeah. Everybody shake, what your mama did, yeah. Everybody move, yeah. Lost fact.
You are now watching the B10 Countdown.
On the 10th of October 2021, which is also International Mental Health Day, a young man was discovered on a bridge on the Western Bypass, apparently ready to jump. The young man was persuaded not to leap by the intervention of bystanders and Namibian Marshal Rangers. He is now recuperating at the premises of the Namibian Marshal Rangers.
Because I personally have been on scenes where people have jumped off bridges on our Western Bypass. This would not be the first time we were dealing with something like this. We got there, we found a young man standing on the bridge, and he looked very, very distorted. He looked very disturbed. He looked emotionally broken. You could see by his facial he was making that decision. And then I found a man in civilian clothing who I found out later is actually a friend of ours and a great supporter of us, and he stood a few meters away from the young man and was just talking to him, nicely talking. The young man started crying. We all at the bottom like, hey, come on, brother, if you jump off here, you're probably going to just hurt yourself, or if you know what I mean, you could end up paralyzed for the rest of your life. So basically we were just psychologically trying to encourage him to change his mind. And then I sat back and I just waited. My emergency crew started preparing, getting the beds ready in case he does jump. If he's still alive and survives it, that we can transport him immediately to the Karatura hospital, which is about 2-3 kilometers away, so we could try and save his life. The thing is, we know in a case like this he could be paralyzed for life, and then he sits with more depression. So at the end of the day, after a long sitting with him and talking to him, the young man decided to change his mind, and he climbed back on the bridge, and we grabbed him and we took him away. And in fact, I sat with him with the city police and everybody. The fire department also responded to it, and I sat with him, and I'm actually right now, I have the young man in my care. We are busy helping him. I'm giving him reason to live. And this young man is alive. And I tell you what, he stayed over by us. We were looking after him at the moment. I've given him work. The man feels, he said to me this morning, he says, like, I feel like I've got a new life. You see? So all it takes is a moment of saying, is this worth it? Let's not do this. Let's be wise and let's save lives.
According to Nodia, mental illness is a serious problem in Namibia.
We're sitting with mental health problems in our country. We're sitting with the crisis of depression. People are losing their jobs. People are not making an income. So there is an atmosphere of depression. And also, we're all wearing masks, so we're not smiling at each other anymore. So there's no happy moods anymore. Everybody's, because it's like this dark cloud is hanging over us. And this is what happened. People don't realize, they think mental health means you're like mentally retarded. No, you're psychologically broken. You're emotionally broken. And that's why they say you must be careful with your words, because you can actually break somebody to the point. And we've had people kill themselves. A father shouting at a child because he didn't pass his grades or didn't do well in his grades, and he commits suicide or hangs himself. Alright? So psychological manipulation and stress and pressure causes people to break down. And this is where mental health is important. What is your state of mind? You need a solution, and you don't find a solution, so you think the solution is taking your own life. Find somebody out there. There's 7 billion people on this earth. I'm sure there's somebody who's willing to listen and sincerely listen, but you won't believe that just that talking it out. Write it down. If you're by yourself, write how you feel. Write what you are feeling. Read it to yourself and ask yourself, is it really worth? Okay? And weigh off the pros and the cons. Just remember, suicide leaves everybody else behind. Do you really want to do this to your loved ones? Do you really want to do this to your family that are going to be weeping, dealing with the legalities, dealing with the paperwork? You're doing this because you are tired. You've had enough. You're under pressure, right? But what you're doing as suicide is a selfish act, not only against yourself, because God gave you a life, but you're doing a selfish act to everybody in your surroundings.
UNICEF recently launched the flagship report, The State of the World's Children 2021, On My Mind, Promoting, Protecting and Caring for Children's Mental Health, with the most comprehensive look at the mental health of children, adolescents and caregivers in the 21st century during and beyond the COVID-19 pandemic.
Fisheries and Marine Resources Minister Derek Claassen called on communities and companies to adopt the culture of ironing out issues that will prevent disunity. Claassen made these remarks at a unity meeting at Walfish Bay, where a dispute that lasted for years between Narraville families and a fishing company was resolved.
Some family members from the Narraville suburb in Walfish Bay were divided over the past few years due to a dispute between Walfish Bay fishermen widows and the Ehika Fishing Company. Ehika Fishing, which belonged to a Narraville resident, former principal Eddie van Wyk, and the late Clive Johannes, decided in 2002 to start a trust and apply for fishing rights that would benefit widows of fishermen at the town. The company's trustees had the power to decide on matters, which was not supported by some of the widows, causing some to side against the Van Wyk family.
The committee, they will also be elected, I don't know how many, two, to join the board of the Ehika Fishing going forward. So they will be part of the AGMs, part of the board meetings, part of decision making in the company as well as to running the trust. So in the individual committee capacity, they will be taking charge of what the trust issues and get the widows and approvals and stuff like that, but then on a higher level they will join the current management on the board of the Ehika. Not that even if the person representing on the board is not a shareholder, they will still be part of that board in the decision.
The two parties recently decided to reunite for the benefit of the trust and the unity of their community. The old trustees have decided to step off and give control of the trust to the widows, who now have the opportunities to make their own decisions. Fisheries and Marine Resources Minister Derek Claassen, who is also from the Narraville community, expressed gratification on the outcome.
It was structured like that they take control of the trust to decide which widows will join the trust and how they will manage the trust on behalf of the widows. But after what has happened, and today we can applaud them because they have resigned from the trust in the first place, and also the widows chose their own representatives as trustees. And out of the trustees, you cannot just take anybody from the floor to be a board member, because the trustees is the ones that is running the trust. So they will know what is the needs of the trust. And automatically they will then elect one or two of them to serve on the board of directors of Ehika, whereby they can protect the interests of the trust and where they can come with proposals from the trust and the widows.
Paul Fisher was elected as chairperson of the trust, deputized by Leonie Van, while Vanessa Nash will serve as secretary and Lizette Williams as treasurer. There are 80 widows registered on the trust who own 40% of shares in the company. They will also start to receive their monthly stipends again.
Get ready to enjoy Simba's sounds of flavor.
Well, Simba flavors. Let's roll. Liza, smoke beef. Where vinegar. Shaya chocolate. Shake it and mud.
Together we roll because Simba roars with flavor.
Nothing is too good for my daughter. Now here's the deal. Nambi, there's no playing around with other boys before your wedding. Do you understand me? It's the most important day of your life.
Nambi, baby, you have a face like a beautiful person. I got you this Virgin Mary necklace to protect your innocence.
Stupid man. We have loved each other since high school, and now you want to turn your back on me? All the plans we made, you just throw them away? And you want Nambi now? When I've always been there for you, Ziwa, do you understand? And she doesn't even love you. I wasted my time on someone like you.
Don't be like that, Jalia.
Love, everybody needs it. Love.
As we have reached the summer season, there's no doubt that almost everyone, including children, more specifically those in pre-primary, would love to get saturated in a body of water, be it a pool, dam or ocean. Therefore, the Monarch Lifeguard and Emergency Service launched a campaign where pre-primary scholars learn to swim safely.
Community Voices proudly brought to you by Namdeb Diamond Corporation. Good today, better tomorrow.
Reports show that most drownings involving minors occur due to them not knowing basic swimming techniques. Thanks to concerns raised by parents and lifeguards over at Monarch Emergency Services, pre-primary learners will soon gain basic swimming skills, thus reducing the number of drownings.
We come up with this initiative just to raise water safety awareness, especially to the little ones. Just for them to do water safety activity with understanding, not with fear. And I encourage people or the society to take water safety campaign seriously. This is the only program which will save you and your loved one's life from drowning. You know, drowning is an everyday nuisance, but 100% if we work together, we can avoid it. We have a mechanism how to tackle it.
They ran a pilot program at the Ocean View Preschool, a successful one according to Sylvia Langenhoven, a teacher at the daycare.
It was a good presentation to have, the awareness of drowning and that, because a lot of kids, they're not really aware of things like that. They don't realize how dangerous water actually is and that. So it's a good thing, and you know, it's easier to educate kids than it is to educate adults. So these kids will go home and they will tell their parents, you know what, Mommy, today we did this and we learned this and Uncle Martin told us that and we mustn't do this. So it's a good thing to start like with the kids and that, and they will go and they'll carry the message over to whoever needs to hear it.
According to research by the World Health Organization, there's an estimated 236,000 drowning deaths annually worldwide. With initiatives such as the swimming campaign for pre-scholars in Wolfish Bay, there could be a noticeable reduction in drownings, mainly those involving young children.
I'm happy because they know how to swim. I want you also to be happy to learn how.
Community Voices proudly brought to you by Namdeb Diamond Corporation. Good today, better tomorrow.
FNB Namibia once again joins many others in assisting the Namibia Farmers Association's drought relief project. FNB's donation was used to purchase lucerne, which in turn was transported by NBL free of charge to commercial farmers in the fire-ravaged areas of Aranos, as well as communal farmers in the drought-stricken areas of Korijas and Damaraland. Another 25 communal farmers in the Karasburg area were also assisted with lucerne bales.
More drought relief was forthcoming through the Leonardville Farmers Association, driven by Gijs van Tonder, where 8,000 bales of grass were donated towards Namibia drought relief. Once again, Namibia Breweries Limited organized the transport, while Pick-a-Pay and Heartleaf donated lunch bags which were handed out to the people loading the grass in the Leonardville area. Renee Buertes, FNB Manager for Merchant Acquiring, said it must not be forgotten that agriculture and farming is one of the backbones of the country and contributes greatly to the GDP, as well as creating employment and food security. While many farmers welcomed the rains last year, there are still many areas within Namibia which have been crippled by drought for the past years and have not had the relief of good rains. Coupled to this, fires all over the country have destroyed thousands of hectares of farmland. Buertes added that they are humbled to be in a privileged position to help and know that every donation towards the farmers assists them to make a success of their business, thereby contributing towards wealth creation and job creation in the country.
Freedom to play. The 2021 Online Women's Football Summit is here. Catch the live stream on One Africa TV's Facebook page at 2:30 p.m. on Friday, October 15th. Special speakers like Lolo Gorasep, Dina Shitula, Salome Iambo, and other international football stars. Be part of the free online summit and learn all about women's football. Go to One Africa's Facebook page for more details. Proudly brought to you by Frederick Norman Foundation and Global United FC Africa Foundation and PO. We love football. We love our planet.
Dink jy sy het nog steeds abandonment issues?
Is moontlik.
Al ons moeite met die sprokies. Ek probeer so hard om my kind gelukkig te maak, maar ek kry dit nie reg nie.
Probeer net help, dis al.
Jy doen niks sonder bymotiewe nie.
So jy hou van die tattoo?
Nee. Maar jy kan nie liefde koop nie. En beslis nie myne nie.
Jy regular.
Am I that predictable?
Jy is 'n gereelde klant en ons net so 'n manier om koffie te drink.
How do you like your coffee?
Gewoonlik swart sonder suiker.
Does black and bitter only pertain to your coffee preference?
Ek hou maar net van my koffie sonder melk.
Hoe gaan dit 'n bal raak slaan na 2 glase wyn?
That was part of my plan.
Wat? Om 'n tipsie te maak sodat jy kan wen.
I'm terrible at pata.
In other leading stories, U.S. Embassy Charge d'Affaires Jess Long announced that the United States will contribute over $90.4 million in 2022 towards Namibia's fight against AIDS through the U.S. President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief PEPFAR. This is an increase from $89 million contributed in 2021. The $90.4 million will intensify the country's efforts to reach epidemic control of the HIV epidemic. According to Long, Namibia has made strides in the fight against HIV and is a global leader in nearing epidemic control, adding that PEPFAR supports a number of different interventions that will bring Namibia closer to epidemic control and strengthen Namibia's healthcare system. In 2022, PEPFAR Namibia will support the Ministry of Health and Social Services to further scale up interventions which began in 2021, including programs addressing mental and emotional health in patients on antiretroviral therapy. Additional activities included in the 2022 investment are support for recency testing, which is a procedure that shows the healthcare worker how recently a person was infected with HIV. Funding for 2022 will also support the Ministry of Health and Social Services to set up an SMS reminder service to send messages to ART patients when they need to collect their medicine. PEPFAR will sustain its investment to provide comprehensive support to over 37,000 orphans and vulnerable children and adolescents in 18 districts. PEPFAR will continue its support for girls to stay HIV-free through the DREAMS program, which works with over 80,000 adolescent girls and young women in 9 districts.
Are you a CMAS member? Did you know that should you need medical treatment, you have access to quality private hospitalization, guaranteed specialist treatment in private hospitals across Namibia with Complement Gap? Complement Gap is a complimentary product for CMAS members only, which covers the shortfall between what CMAS pays and private hospitals charge. You and your family have more than 2 million in medical gap cover per year at a very affordable price. That's not all. You also have access to emergency evacuation within Namibia and $10 million international travel cover for those unforeseen events abroad. Take the financial burden off your shoulders, invest in your family's health. SMS GAP to 999 555 and we'll contact you. Terms and conditions apply.
Joseph Shifeni is standing by for today's edition of Business on One and Economic Indicators.
Welcome to Business on One. I'm Joseph Shifeni. Speaking at a recent event where the Mine Workers Union of Namibia launched a new investment initiative for their members, Presidential Advisor on Economic Matters James Mnupi said the government is set to venture into the green energy sector with a project that will unlock opportunities for all Namibians. Describing the envisioned green hydrogen project as a solution, James Mnupi added that the new industry will unlock opportunities across various sectors and attract foreign direct investment.
The government is currently extremely hard at work to try and curate the formation of a new industry, a new synthetic fuels industry, for example, here in Namibia, that has the promise to unlock almost 70% of our GDP in FDI. Now, a big part of trying to solve for how do we bring this particular solution about in Namibia is how do we ensure that many Namibians get to participate in what could actually be the single biggest investment opportunity for this country since its independence in 1990. And I must say, sitting here listening to all of you speak about the solutions you're crafting here, I'm extremely encouraged about the potential of government learning from NAMIC on how we could actually do that for a green hydrogen industry, a decarbonization effort that actually seeps into transport and logistics as well. People are talking about, attacking hard-to-abate sectors such as shipping, rail, even cement, right? So as this particular opportunity unlocks itself and begins to attract concessionary funding that is sort of very aligned with SDGs, we think that you guys are pioneering a solution here that, again, we would all be humbled to learn from.
The Presidential Economic Advisor was speaking at the launch of NAMIDVest, an initiative by the Mine Workers Investment Holdings Company, or NAMIC, aimed at empowering 37,000 beneficiaries through shareholding of over $100 million. While commending the approach by the union, he said that they plan to learn from such a scheme.
The recognition that, of course, the mining industry is typically one that is based on a depleting resource. And so if you are trying to solve for multiple generations, you constantly have to build a portfolio of diversified assets, but at least assets that match the lifespan of the liabilities that you're trying to solve for, which is the livelihoods of the mine workers and their beneficiaries. And so recognizing that it is important to build an element of green assets or green opportunities and trying to match a global aspiration to try and ensure a just transition, I just thought that was absolutely sort of the cherry on top of the cake. I absolutely applaud NAMIC, and as a member of government, we're extremely excited to work with you and, to be honest, to learn from you on how it is that we could deploy this particular solution for other areas and other sectors in the country. Because as you all know, at the moment we are trying to look at how to create broad-based economic empowerment in the country without necessarily just destroying value or just redistributing a cake without actually growing it.
Manupi spoke on the occasion on the 1st of October, soon after arriving from the United States, where he was part of the President's delegation at the United Nations General Assembly in New York. Thank you for watching. Join me again next time, and don't forget to follow us on our social media pages.
Hi there, parents. Do you have primary school kids and want them to get extra quality supplementary lessons to up their grades? Then simply switch to One Africa TV's #LearnOn1, where your kids can get maths, English and science lessons every weekday from 9 to 11 a.m. with repeats from 2 to 4 p.m. And thanks to NMH's MyZone, these lessons are 100% Namibian. There's so much to learn with #LearnOn1. Invite learning in.
Time Time now for Comments Corner, your daily dose of comments from our social media pages. A group of LLB final year law students from the University of Namibia believes many road users don't fully understand what to do after a traffic law enforcer pulls them over. They have therefore launched a project aimed at clearing the misconceptions of traffic rules and regulations. Romans notes that the law students might confuse the public, adding that motorists should do what traffic officers ask from them and then dispute his or her actions in court. However, Sylvia notes that she has seen a video from another country whereby a traffic officer was told to carry their documents, adding that it's not only in Namibia. Chivuta says being in uniform does good for her, noting that she is aware that some officers abuse their powers while road users also look down on officers. While Lebby asked what a calibration certificate is and why it is needed, further adding that facts must be explained so that people can learn from their mistakes. And that's all from Comments Corner. Be sure to post your comments on our social media pages for broadcast every day, only on Today on 1.
Oranjemund, established in 1936, from which point onwards CDM, now Namdeb Diamond Corporation, provided every service, the schooling, infrastructure and entertainment required for the people of the town. The winds of change is blowing over Oranjemund, which is no longer a closed town.
This ship was commandeered by King Charles III, and he actually sent a knight to Spain to go and fetch some money from investors, because they wanted to go and fetch some spices in India.
When we were kids, the mine delivered milk, bread, and black paper, black plastic bags for your rubbish, and cleaned your garden, did the maintenance of your house. You had furniture already installed in your house.
Castro Lumbu is standing by for today's edition of Sports on 1.
Welcome to a new week of Sports on 1. I am your host, Castro Ulumbu. The Namibia School Sport Union, together with Athletics Namibia this past weekend, successfully hosted the first ever National Under-17 School Relay Championships in the capital. This particular event saw 23 schools from 13 regions compete in the 4x100 meter and 4x400 meter relay track events respectively. Today on 1 Sports has more on this story. Athletics Namibia and Namibia School Sport Union, who collaborated in organizing the event, both expressed excitement for the future of athletics in the country, stating that talent can only be picked up through such events, and are both looking forward to the next edition.
I'm very happy it went very well. It has been a very busy last 2 months to get the regions have their competitions, and we're happy 13 regions managed to host their competitions and select the winning schools to come to the national championship. We will work on making sure that next year the Kunene region comes on board and joins the rest of the Namibia Athletics family house, and then we'll be full house in terms of regional presentation. But I was very happy. The competition went very well. I'm very excited about the future of the initiative, the future of the national relays. We hope to grow it to include other age groups, and yeah, very much excited.
The NSSU Athletics Namibia partnership showed that when we work together, we can achieve a lot. If we look at the 13 regions that participated here in our first ever inaugural under-17 relay. In the past, last year it looked bleak because of COVID, but we kept on pushing, and today we can see the smiles on the faces of our athletes, the smiles on the faces of the coaches, because they worked very hard since last year September up till now. We are looking forward to next year because this will be an inaugural competition, an annual competition. And from NSSU side, from the directorate side, I'm saying very much thank you. And even any partner that want to join us, this is the time, join us now. All the first places are records because this is an inaugural games. So all the teams that came first, they have been in the archives, they have been put up as record holders. And then next year, we will see how many records can be better.
Also in attendance at the inaugural event was Deputy Minister of Sports Emma Kantema Gaumas, who applauded NSSU and Athletics Namibia for organizing the event, stating that one can only identify new talent through such competitions.
It's a good opportunity because it gives the athletes competition time and give them that necessary exposure. We have seen that it's only through competitions that we are able to identify talent, after identifying them and then nurturing the talent. So this is one of the first. It was the inaugural event, and especially after the lockdown that we experienced with the sports not being allowed to be practiced, we are really happy that it was a very successful event, even though hosted under the COVID regulations with no spectators. But we are really happy that for the athletes we were able to give them that chance to showcase their potential.
Windhoek Gymnasium Private School from the Khomas region were the overall winners on the day as they won the games with 42 points. Cape Moon Secondary School finished second with 21 points, followed by Tau Ape Secondary School with 18 points to round off the top three. Watch as Windhoek Gymnasium Private School wins the final of the 4x100 meters relay main event. That is all we have for you tonight. Join us again next time for Sports on One, and don't forget to follow us on our social media pages.
Thanks, Castro, for that update. Now we look at tomorrow's weather forecast.
A look at the weather forecast. First, an advisory from the Windhoek Met Office. Cool Arctic air is expected to set in the south on Thursday, going into the weekend, so please do take the necessary precautions. The Namibia interior partly cloudy and hot to very hot in the north and south, elsewhere fine and hot to very hot. Windy weather will persist in the interior. The coast partly cloudy and cool, and the wind light to fresh northwesterly to southwesterly. Now we look at minimum and maximum temperatures across the country and beyond.
We've come to the end of this evening's edition of Today on One. From me, Isai Sipunga, and the rest of the team, it's good night.
The International University of Management, a Namibian university dedicated to its people's future, a hub of abundant opportunities.
We are IUM for life. We are IUM.
Hi beautiful souls, this is Nikita Winkler and I am here to share easy tools for stretching that you can do just about anywhere. This is a demonstration, so what's most important is that you take the time in each position that your body needs to release its tension. In this session, we will stretch the hips. What you'll need are yoga blocks or books, thick books, or pillows, especially if you have tight hips. You can do this on a mat, on the floor, on a blanket, or even in your bed. Let's get started. So we're going to start on the floor with the soles of our feet together. I'm going to grab around the feet. This is a butterfly position. So in order to warm up the hips, I'm just going to flap the butterfly wings. And again, take your time. I'm going to lean forward, and here, again, if the hips are too tight, you can place your blocks, books, or pillows underneath. You might even feel a stretch in the back here. From this position, I'm going to take one arm right behind me, not too far from my body. The other arm, inhale, exhale, press the hip open. And come back to center. Change. One arm right behind me to lengthen the spine, the other hand on the knee. Inhale, exhale, press the hip open and back to center. Now we're going to lie down on the floor. And first, before I get started, I have to make sure that my body, my spine is in alignment. I'm going to just open up the neck area. And you can spend as much time as you need here, allowing the force of gravity to weigh on the legs to open up the hips. You can place your blocks, books, or pillows underneath the knees. And gradually, you can take the feet even further down and spend enough time in each position. From here, we're going to go into an internal hip rotation. I'm going to spread my feet to the side, lean the knees inwards. If you have a little bit more flexibility, you don't really feel the stretch, just take your feet even further apart to deepen this internal rotation stretch in your hips. From here, I'm just going to place my feet, and without repositioning the feet, I'm going to take my arms to the side, and then I'm just going to rock my legs side to side, keeping the upper body facing up, shoulders down. And then I'm going to stop on one side, take the lower leg over the upper to add weight to deepen the stretch. Release the leg and switch. Other side, lower over the upper. And back to center. Last part, I'm going to spread my legs as wide open as I can, and I'm going to just row the boat. So what's important here is that the knees don't lift off the floor. Make sure you row both sides. Keep the knees and both bum cheeks on the floor. Alternatively, you can just lean forward. You can hang out on the pillow. Take your time on the blocks or on your books. And that is it. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to breathe into your stretches, and happy stretching.
COVID-19 affects people very differently. Many people show no symptoms at all, but some are hospitalized for weeks. So what does the disease do to your body? The coronavirus enters through the mouth, nose, or eyes. It then usually attaches itself to cells lining the nose, throat, airways, or lungs. It can turn these cells into factories that multiply and spread the virus. For the majority, a fever, cough, and breathlessness are as bad as it gets.
But the virus can damage the small blood vessels lining the lungs and initiate clotting. The alveoli are tiny air sacs where oxygen goes into the blood. If they become inflamed, it can trigger pneumonia. Seriously ill patients need to be given oxygen as the lungs fill with fluid and debris.
I legit couldn't breathe. My oxygen meter was measuring under 88% oxygen levels, which is very dangerous. And the only time I ever thought my life was in danger was at that point.
COVID-19 doesn't just affect the lungs. It can also disrupt the immune system, which is used by the body to fight illnesses. Cytokines are part of the immune system that find and signal infections. For some people with severe COVID-19, this system can go into overdrive. If too many cytokines build up, it can cause an overreaction that damages healthy cells. This is called a cytokine storm for the most severe cases. COVID-19 can lead to seizures or even a coma. It can also cause brain problems that lead to strokes. The immune system overreacting can cause clots that stop the blood supply to parts of the brain. Brain inflammation, psychosis, and dementia-like symptoms can also affect seriously ill patients. The average length of the illness is 14 days, but many people have symptoms for much longer. Breathing problems and post-viral fatigue last for months in some cases.
I cannot walk for long simply because I will feel a little bit short of breath and I feel the need to sit down. And that's something that has never happened to me before.
Some of the people who are most likely to develop severe symptoms are older adults and those with underlying health conditions. It's not fully known how anyone will react to COVID-19 until they get it. So it's important for everyone to follow health guidance. What precautions are you taking to stay safe?
In a corner of southern Africa lies a vast and sparse land, where endless horizons, dramatic scenery, and untouched wilderness abound. (1,500 kilometers of harsh desert coastline, a mosaic of biodiversity, sub-Saharan savanna, acacia bushland, encased by 2 deserts. Home to wildlife and wilderness abundant, yet ever at risk. This is Namibia, home to some of the most noteworthy conservation success stories across the globe. Initiatives forged, manned, and driven by passionate individuals and groups.
People are busy there walking for more than 45 kilometers a day.
Special species and wild locations under constant threat from an increasingly destructive developing world.
One of the world's true survivors.
This is the story of the Namibian wilderness, the stories of the enigmatic wildlife and natural wonders of her realm.
They are not a threat to anyone, if you understand them.
This is the story of those determined to preserve it, and thereby themselves.
Don't think I want to tell my children one day that we had rhinos in Namibia. I want to show them live rhinos.
This is the story of the last defenders.
We had been tracked them for about 7 days, and on the 7th day, we come across the butchers, and there was a shooting. We are not armed. We having a camera and GPS, we were just hiding behind the bushes. If I don't protect this species, who's going to do that? So it's that why I sacrificed my life to go on conserve the rhinos.
Armed out in the field with basically a notebook against poachers that are armed with highly dangerous weapons and more. How is this an equal fight?
I started right on the ground as a tracker, and I worked all the way up to be the CEO now, and I know how hard it is. It's commitment and dedication and the patience that you have for the animal. It's really hard. It's like you had something in your house that you are protecting for so long, and when you go away from home, somebody comes and kills you.